Hey everyone, it's Kevin, the host of the Unreal Attractions podcast. I just wanted to take a second to tell everybody about the Imagine What box. Now, when I was at Imagineering, the number one question we would get from kids is, how do I become an Imagineer? Now, growing up, I had Roller Coaster Tycoon, I had some books, but there wasn't anything else teaching that type of discipline. So I saw this as an opportunity to create Imagine What. So, what we have is a monthly subscription box that comes to your door that teaches the art of world building, which is the basis for any theme park, attraction, video game, a movie, or a book. George Lucas created a whole galaxy for Star Wars, and that's world building, right? What's the past? What's the future? What are the rules of this universe? What do they eat? What's the government? That is world building. So imagine what comes to your door once a month. It's packed with tools and tricks. We have story treatments in there. We have world building activities. It's a lot of fun, and the best part is that you can take the contents from one box and move it over to the next box. You can mix and match these things as they come to create whole new worlds or just challenge your brain a little bit more. Now, interestingly enough, even though I started this for kids, adults are using it too to get around like creative blocks and stuff. So, really, Imagine What is for everybody. I encourage everybody to go visit imaginewhatbox.com. You can subscribe there. You can learn more. Again, thanks everybody for their support. And now let's go on some Unreal Attractions.
Welcome to Unreal Attractions, the only podcast that takes real-life theme park designers and places them into the middle of your favorite fictional theme parks from television and movies. Joining us today, we have Stefan Lawrence. He'll be joining us onto a trip to Duff Gardens from The Simpsons. Welcome in, Stefan.
Oh, thank you very much. I appreciate you having me.
Okay, I want you to take the microphone and give us the elevator pitch of who Stefan is, so we know who we're visiting Duff Gardens with today.
Excellent. So I'm a creative director for all sorts of themed entertainment. I do a lot of concept and narrative development, story development. I tend to live in sort of like a blue sky and concept land. I've worked for a number of companies that don't exist anymore, but and also for a number of companies that do. I was a creative director at THG, worked with the Bezark Company, Miziker Entertainment. I haven't worked at Imagineering, but I've freelanced for Imagineering, and I've worked on Universal projects along the way. And so I've been in this particular business for about 12 years now. And before that, I was worked in experiential marketing in New York City, doing weird marketing stunts. So that's essentially my life.
Do you have any pride and joy attractions or anything you like to share? Like what would we have seen in the public?
What would you have seen in the public? So for Imagineering, I worked on the Optimist alternate reality game that was through R&D. So I did a whole bunch of like posters, fun maps, and all that. That was probably the hardest assignment I ever had, which was please design some attraction posters and some fun maps. And I said, boo hoo, well, fine, I'll just grit my teeth and do it. Um, uh, Probably the biggest thing most recently that uh, might have seen. I worked on the Crystal Lobby at the Galaxy Casino in Macau, which is this 3-story crystalline structure with a big animated ceiling and chandeliers that come down, and a 5-ton lotus that descends out of the ceiling and rotates. And so I was part of the design team for that, and then I was wrote and designed shows for that as well. So if
I
you're ever,
have a
you're ever
chandelier
in
like that
Macau, go check that out. What's that?
Yeah, next time I'm in Macau. Funny enough, I have a chandelier like that in my
Look,
kitchen.
if you happen to be passing by and you want to see 500,000 crystals that with individually addressable pixels, and that does a little dance and welcomes in the Chinese New Year, have at it.
I can only that thing's got to be beautiful.
That was the pandemic project that I worked on, and it was bananas because we had to produce the whole thing remotely with like remote teams, and just sort of like looking through iPads at people assembling and building things and being like, that looks right.
Yeah, the Optimist was awesome. If you're unfamiliar with it, it was to support the Tomorrowland movie with George Clooney that came out.
Yes,
And I
exactly.
would say the Optimist was probably the best part about that entire film.
It was very loosely connected to it, but it was an absolute kind of joy to work on. It was really, really fun. I was just like a super smart creative team that I work with over there with Chad Jones, who's now over at Universal, and Sarah Thatcher, who's still at Imagineering.
She's amazing.
All yeah, all brilliant, amazing people, and it was just an absolute pleasure to sort of help support them.
Yeah, shout out to Joe Lemoyne, my old colleague at Imagineering. He was the writer for that project. And Joe is the writer. If we ever needed to make people cry, like just pull on their heartstrings and just turn them into blubbering messes,
Always.
Joe was your person. And we said after The Optimist, nobody writes like a 16-year-old girl like Joe Lemoyne.
That's the headline on the resume right there.
There you go.
No, but
All right.
that whole project, it was really extensive and very impressive in its scope. It was really something to see.
Yeah, if you guys listening have never checked it out, I'm sure there's YouTube videos, definitely worth viewing. It was pretty groundbreaking. A lot of the things still exist. Like if you go to the Tam O'Shanter, they still have some of the graphics and the things they put onto the
That's my
table.
poster. That's my
Oh, that's your
poster of
poster.
Walt's table. Yep.
There you go. Go to the Tam O'Shanter, get some prime rib, and look at some beautiful artwork.
There you go.
That's a good day. But today we're here to talk about Duff Gardens from the episode Selma's Choice, Season 4, Episode 13 of The Simpsons. This is probably one of the... There's so many classic episodes of The Simpsons. It's been going on for almost as long as I've been alive.
They have a banger or two.
Just a couple, yeah. But this is, I think, their first trip to a theme park on the series. So this is only appropriate for us to start there. But, eventually we're going to have to go visit Itchy and Scratchy Land. We're going to have to go visit Krusty Land as it is at Universal and as it is in the show, because eventually they end up making Krusty Land part of the animated world too. But Duff Gardens, our first intro to it is on the Homer and the kids are watching Lance Murdoch, the Daredevil, and he flings off his motorcycle, goes landing, and before he passes out, he yells, "I'm going to Duff Gardens." And that is the first view of Duff Gardens. And I just want to preface this as like, normally we would go into these episodes and be like, oh yeah, this is realistic. This is not good. If we're going into this as realistic, Duff Gardens, just buckle up, everybody, because this is the worst theme park imaginable from a safety standards point, from a design point.
You are 100% correct. Not a lot of this makes a whole lot of actual theme park sense, but I think that's mostly fine. Almost no parks, I think, that I've seen in media are particularly, accurate when it comes to operations, right?
No, never.
Exactly.
Especially when it's for Disney.
So Lance Murdoch, he then gets incorporated into a commercial where they show him enjoying the various attractions of Duff Gardens, including an incomplete roller coaster called the Whiplash.
I kind of thought about. No, go ahead.
Right, which actually doesn't even have its track completed, and he just like flies off the edge of it because it's to be completed in 1994. And of course, this episode comes out in 1993. So feels irresponsible of them to put I guess if you're going to put anybody, you put the Daredevil on the incomplete roller coaster. But I don't think he knew.
That was my thought too. Like, okay, so going into it, I'm like, oh man, I can't believe they put him on a roller coaster that has a lift hill but no descent. But I'm like, oh yeah, he is the Daredevil. So if you're going to do this, this could be a realistic advertisement for with a Lance Murdoch, Evel Knievel type character as a spokesman.
Yeah. But it doesn't look like they warned him that they were about to do this. So there would be even if you're a Daredevil, I feel like you still want to be able to prepare for the fact that your car is just going to go right off a cliff.
It's going to roller coaster tycoon right all the way down on the floor.
Yeah, exactly. And they also put him through the washing machine.
Yep.
Which is literally an agitator that like sprays you in the face with water.
Yeah, it sprays you in the face 3 ways. So not only is it coming straight up at you from the middle, but you have 2 side sprayers coming from the other side. So the people next to you. So, I mean, that is like a universal ride on steroids. They love spraying water, but it reminded me of that new gravity ride I saw videos of that debuted at IAPA. There was like an
I don't.
open air, uh, like a spinny ride, like the
Okay.
Gravitron,
Uh-huh.
but it had lights and stuff. It was eerily similar to the washing machine from Duff Gardens,
I
minus
missed
the
this. Wait,
rising water.
what exactly happens in this?
Oh, so it's one of those like classic carnival rides where you go in
Right.
and it spins and you stick against the wall.
Right.
And so, but it was open air and like the color schemes and everything like that. It reminded me a lot of the washing machine, or the washing machine
Uh,
reminded me of that video.
oh,
It
I
was
wish
very,
I had seen that. All right.
oh yeah,
Um, in high school, we did physics day at Six Flags Magic Mountain. Did you ever do that physics day?
physics day no, but I grew up around the corner from Magic Mountain before moving to Bakersfield, so that
Okay.
is like technically like my home park if we're looking at my childhood.
Um, yeah, we went with my physics teacher, Mr. Harkless, and Mr. Harkless basically didn't care about us doing any of the academic exercises. He just wanted to go on rides. That's essentially all that we did. But he did make a bet that if we uh, could outlast him on the gravitron, we would get an A for the semester.
Spin out,
And yeah, is that the one? Yeah, exactly. It used to be
yeah,
on like
spin out.
the back half. I don't think it's there anymore. Um, he made it 15 times through, and nobody else could touch him,
Wow,
which is iron stomach on Mr. Harkless, I have to say.
that's insane. Now,
Yeah,
now fill up that container with water and spray him in the face 3 ways and see how many rides he can last.
yeah. No, thank you. No, thank you. Um,
Uh,
but
Go ahead.
but then they also introduced the last part of this commercial. I think they introduced, this is where they talk about the beer aquarium, right?
Yeah,
Which is full of the happiest fish in the world because they're swimming around in a giant beer stein full of beer, and
fish
they're
and an
all,
octopus.
yeah, and they're all drunk, right? And they're all like just right burping like Barney,
Yeah,
um,
or
and
just
just
ramming
soused.
their head to the side.
Yeah, they don't look okay. They don't look okay.
Now that's not to be confused with the fermentarium that we
No,
hear about
something
later on.
entirely different, right? Entirely different, which we don't get to
Uh,
see. Sadly, we
yeah,
don't get to
I'm
see the
really curious of
fermentarium.
what that is.
We can only speculate rampantly.
Uh, and so we go a little bit more into the commercial, and they assure us that roaming gangs aren't a problem anymore.
Aren't a
What
big
is
problem anymore.
big problem anymore? That's right.
So still a problem. They're just not a big problem anymore.
We do see later on in the episode, those roaming gangs of was it Kearney and Jimbo and everybody stealing the bumper cars that somehow
Uh-huh.
still miraculously run on the open road.
Not only are they running on the open road, they take them out, but their poles that they have are still sparking as if
Still
they're
sparking.
completing the circuit.
I have a feeling it has to do something with the local power plant. Might be affecting
Right,
that.
right. It's a radiation power.
Yeah.
That was definitely the part of the episode where I sort of took my finger to my glasses and I pushed them up just slightly, and I said, "Well, hold on a second. That's not exactly how that works. Don't you understand that it has to make a full, complete contact with the cage on the above, and it got to make a circuit with the bottom and the floor, and that's how you get the power." Um,
It was a big
the
actually
Simpsons
in my book.
writers did not care uh, to listen to what I had to say about that.
Executive producer Conan O'Brien for this episode did not care about
Yeah,
science.
I called him. He did not care. No.
He said, and you are
And I'm
uh,
like, sorry.
and then I think one of my dad's favorite gags in any Simpson episode is the "Hooray for Everything" kids that are performing at the end of the commercial, which is the very diverse, very happy-go-lucky kids wearing the 1950s clothes with the hair slicked back,
Yep.
singing, "Hey everyone, let's take a walk on the wild side." Shoot,
Not
Peter.
only where all the races say, "Take a walk
Oh
on the
yes,
wild side."
where all the
So,
racists.
where all the races say, "Take a walk on the wild side," and their plea for racial harmony, and they're performing on a beer stein shaped stage with an orange curtain that sort of like pulls aside for them to perform in front of. So it was uh, classy.
Yeah, nice theater venue. I mean, no notes there.
Oh yeah,
It's actually
no, it looks
one of the
nice. Yeah, it looks
nicest
good.
things in the park.
So here's a question. So I have never been to Busch Gardens. I realize that this whole thing isn't exactly a one-to-one parody of Busch Gardens, though it
Oh,
clearly, right, has its origins there. I mean, other things that we're going to talk about, right, have are more of a parody of of Disneyland and other places. Um, but I've never been to Busch Gardens. Have you been to Busch Gardens?
haven't. It's on my list. Any of them? Um, I think there was one in like the San Fernando Valley, like way before
Yeah,
my time.
there was one in Van Nuys.
Mhm.
So with apparently, so Busch Gardens, I did a little bit of Wikipedia-ing before this because I realized I didn't know much about Busch Gardens. But yeah, so uh, Mr. Bush lived in Pasadena and had a place called Busch Gardens in Pasadena, which is basically just like a Huntington Gardens or a Descanso Gardens, like a big sort of like open park. But then they opened Busch Gardens in Van Nuys, which the one that had a huge aviary in it, and that the
Really cool.
rumor is that that's where all the parrots in Pasadena come from now. But I don't think that's true. I think that's probably a lie. But
We
there
have
are
wild
so
parrots up
many
the
of
range.
them. There was a Busch Gardens in Houston for 2 years
Mhm.
before it closed down. Um, there
I think it was
was
Expedition Extinct has a fantastic YouTube like video essay about Busch Gardens and history and stuff. Definitely worth
yeah.
checking out.
There were a lot more of them than I realized, and I did not realize apparently Tampa was open before Williamsburg, which I also did not realize. So
Yeah, man, I really want to go ahead to Tampa. It looks like they have a lot of cool stuff. I was gonna try to stop by there uh, when we were gonna go out to Tampa for a cruise, but that was the year that American Airlines left us stranded at the Phoenix airport on
oh
Mother's Day.
no,
So we
oh
so we missed our cruise.
oh that is disappointing. What'd you do about that?
We somehow caught the last flight back home, and
Oh
they yeah, so we got lucky, but we did spend like 8 or 10 hours in the Phoenix airport. Not too exciting.
oh
And then my mom actually came in to watch the kids, and we decided, you know what, she's out here, let's figure something out. And we did a really quick, like, we looked up prices for a hotel in Vegas, drove out to Vegas, and spent the week there with no plans, and it was awesome. So
all
we kind
right.
of just winged it for a week in
Made
Vegas.
made made the best of it. Well, I was about to say
Yeah,
otherwise that's a really depressing like unpacking that you have to do.
yeah,
Right.
that was a rough one. And
I am
so
so sorry.
just one of many canceled cruises in my life,
Yep.
or two at least, but that's a lot.
Yep.
Uh, so I think we need
Apparently
to think. Go ahead.
I was saying was the only thing I was going to say was apparently this is no longer the case because Anheuser-Busch doesn't own Busch Gardens anymore, right? It's owned by like a big investor group. But
Yeah,
apparently one of the perks of working there was that you got 2 free cases of beer every month.
it wasn't. I think Busch Gardens also like had like a Hawaiian Punch pavilion at one point.
Oh, that sounds classy.
Yeah, I think it was them. I'd have to double check, but yeah, there was a
Did
Hawaiian Punch pavilion.
did they serve like a Hawaiian Punch version of like a shandy? It's like half beer, half Hawaiian Punch. That'd be nice.
No, I think that was when I was learning about it. I think that was the point. Like I'm well into my adult years when I realized that the Hawaiian Punch mascot doesn't actually have moose antlers. He has a straw hat that's poking up.
Oh,
I
you know what?
always I
Huh.
always thought they were moose antlers for some
It's a
reason.
straw hat? All right.
Yeah, it's like a
Well,
beachcomber hat.
the more you know.
Yeah, but he's not part moose.
Yep.
Uh, so I think we do need to take a moment of silence for the 22 immigrant laborers who died building the Duff Pyramid.
Oh, yeah. The Duff Pyramid. Uh, so the Duff Pyramid is one of the we only kind of see it. Do we see it in real life, or I think we see like it in a brochure, I believe.
Yeah,
And
it's on
it's
in the
and it's
lab.
exactly what you would imagine it is. It's a stack of beer cans in pyramid form, and they claim that it takes 5 men to lift it. Now, however, I did do some calculations. I hope
Oh,
you'll
great.
stick with me as I did a little bit of math. Which is if you count it, it's 58 cans square at the base, and it has 31 layers. So which roughly pencils out to about 650,000 cans. Okay. And if you have 650,000 cans at approximately 14.5 grams each, It's about 10.4 tons. Uh,
Wow.
5 people cannot lift up, uh, 10.4 tons. That's as much as a fully loaded semi-truck or 1.5 bull elephants.
There's only one man who could do that, and that's Duff Man, who we don't even
Yeah,
see in this
who
episode.
isn't even here? Exactly. No,
Yeah.
we get the other mascots. We get all the 7 Duffs.
Yes. So interestingly enough, we only hear 4 of their names in this episode. So I guess when Universal had to flush out all of their names, they got to come up with 3 originals.
Yeah, because this doesn't appear I was trying to find if there were other appearance. There was the Simpsons wiki listed other appearances, but they didn't seem to be prominently featured in the plots of any of the other, so I don't think they've actually made another physical trip, right?
Not that I know of.
No. So I'm assuming you have the names of all 7 Duffs?
I have the names of 4, the ones that we see on screen.
Alright,
I
cool.
I did not get
I
the
found the 3 additionals, so why don't you read the
okay.
4 that you got, and then we'll fill out the list.
All right, we got Tipsy,
Mhm,
Queasy,
mhm,
Remorseful, and the
mhm.
most popular, Surly.
Oh, Surly makes a lot of appearances here.
A lot.
Yeah, Surly. In addition, we also have Edgy, Sleazy, and Dizzy. As far as like mascots go, they don't do a great job of selling the lovely qualities of beer drinkers.
No, but very realistic at the same time.
Exactly. No, Surly is constantly just being like, like, hey, why don't you take a picture? It'll last longer, right? And just antagonizing the guests. He's which I guess is in character. So A plus effort for a walk around character here.
And from a costume design standpoint, I can't recall anything that was like half full sculpt costume, half face character.
So do you think that's actually plastic that they have? Is it a
It's no,
plastic bottle or is it a fabric bottle?
oh, it's probably fabric and probably has some cush to it, so you can give Queasy a big hug.
Right.
But
Um,
the fact that the performer gets to stick their face in and like emote and talk and have a personality, like, and they're in character, so good for them.
Well, but here's what you don't know. You don't know if that's actually the face of the animated character, and right. That could be one of those like talking Mickey sculpts.
That's that'd be pretty dang advanced for Duff Gardens based on
Uh,
everything else in that part.
no, it's true. Yeah, they probably don't have any talking surly heads here. It does beg the question: is there a Seven Duffs like animated film? Or some sort of cartoon series, where, do they appear in sort of related media?
Yeah, like what is their origin? Like, how do I recognize these characters?
Like,
Are they in beer ads? Are they from the 1950s cartoon where doctors recommended 3 beers a day while
right?
pregnant? Like,
Do they have a
what are
Saturday morning cartoon that you can enjoy?
yeah, that's man. I want to know more about the Seven Duffs. Let's give them like a live action film. We don't need another Seven Dwarves. Let's give them to the Duffs.
Done, done. Who
Done.
can we talk to?
Call Mr. Iger. No, no, he's listening. Bob, we need a Seven Duffs movie.
It's a 4 quadrant masterpiece waiting to happen.
It's the summer tentpole film that we all need.
Yep.
Uh,
But clearly no, but clearly kids recognize the Duffs, right? They
yeah.
right the kids who are walking in through the gate, they clearly know and see and the Duffs and they're like, hey, it's right. So they must be in something, is what I'm guessing.
Which is more than Geppetto can say at Disneyland. Like people straight up like walk up to Geppetto, have no idea who he is,
Is that
but
true?
he's like, there's I just saw like a celebrity video of like some celebrity going up, having no idea who he was, but just happy to get a picture with a Disney character
Well, that's
or
nice.
Geppetto.
The only experience I've had, like, I met the penguins once. Are the penguins from Mary Poppins, maybe?
Yep.
Who are the
Mhm.
penguins that walk around? Are they Mary Poppins penguins?
Yeah.
And I wasn't sure which ones they were. And apparently they'd signed their name, like they signed their autograph as ham and eggs. Was because apparently they don't have names, so they sign various things that go together. So it's not it's not apparently as strict as all that.
Another character that has an identity problem or being a recognized problem is Bert from Mary Poppins.
Right.
If he is not near Mary Poppins,
Then it's like, oh,
especially
it's
if
Dapper
he
Dan.
yeah, especially if he's in his Jolly Holiday costume. One day I was working Main Street vehicles, so I was driving up and down Main Street from the train station to the castle all day long, and I don't know why Mary wasn't out, but Bert was, and Bert was by himself, and all day long, like he was like trying to get a crowd, like he was doing his tightrope
Oh,
walk, he was
baby.
doing some dances, just like all day, nobody like
Working
paid
his
any
ass
attention
off.
to Bert. And then on my last trip of the day, I see him standing on the curb in town square, and somebody, a group comes up to him, and I'm like, oh, thank goodness, he finally someone's
We
gonna go
finally
up to him.
caught a break.
Then he points to where the restroom was.
Oh,
Yeah,
no.
poor Bert.
Oh, I mean,
So
I would imagine that he works better in context, right? Look,
yeah,
the movie's not called Bert and Mary Poppins. It's called
or
Mary Poppins.
put him in the chimney sweep costume. At least then he's recognized. I think more recognizable.
M Maybe.
Um, but he's
Then
more
he's gonna be a chimney sweep.
That's still better than just a random Main Street cast member walking around pretending to be on an imaginary tightrope.
Yeah.
But
But good
the
on him for
Seven Duffs
putting in
more
the effort and
recognizable.
just, what's that?
I said the Seven Duffs more recognizable than Bert.
More
That's all I'm saying.
recognizable than Bert. Well, at least in this context. Right, I mean, if you just saw a random one beer bottle walking down the street, maybe they wouldn't ID them, but they're all together, right? It's like a boy band. You recognize a boy band because
Ugh,
they're in context, right? Right, if it's just a beer bottle, I mean, who knows? Could just be a guy.
just be a guy, a big
Just be
fan.
any old guy. Right, exactly.
He's was it when you dress up like kind of like inspired by the characters? Oh, he's duff bounding.
He's
There you go.
tough bounding. See,
Duff
I
bounding.
as opposed to the hooray for everything, I would have loved to see the Seven Duff stage show that they then go and put on. Like it would be
Oh,
so beautiful if they're like just like they're just walking around doing their sort of like surly, remorseful shtick, but then they get up on stage and they have golden throats and they just do this beautiful like barbershop harmonies about the glories of Duff beer.
or if they had a Hershey Park style factory tour with them as your
Yep.
guide. Oh, that would be amazing.
Right?
That's the ride we wanted.
Oh,
Actually,
well,
I
yeah.
do have a list of all the rides we do see, if you wanna
Yes,
go
do
through
it,
those.
please.
Okay, so we have the Whiplash as a coaster coming soon.
Yep.
The other coaster is the Barrel Roll. We could
The
talk about
barrel,
that.
oh, I have plenty of stuff to talk about with that. There's some,
Alright, let's circle back to the Barrel Roll because there's
yeah,
other ones that there's nothing. There's sky buckets, there's
yep,
Ferris wheel, there's bumper cars we talked about earlier,
yep,
and then some other ones we can circle back to after the Barrel Roll, the Beer Hall of Presidents and the Little
mhm.
Land of Duff.
The
But
little
let's
F
talk
and
about the Barrel
wait,
Roll.
you're missing one.
Oh, which
You're
one?
missing the contusion. Did you,
Oh,
which is
where was that?
it's on the TV while the Simpsons are talking about are having a conversation. The commercial continues on TV, and there's the
Ugh.
contusion, which is like a ride version of that executive desk toy Newton's Cradle. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah,
Where
yeah.
you have the five balls, and you pull one ball back, and it goes. And it knocks them out, but it's five people hanging from this thing, and they slam into each other. The other one slams out the other side, and then slams out, and they're all in a lot of physical discomfort.
That's right. I think I was taking an I was scribbling down and I looked down for a second because that
Yeah,
passes really fast.
if you look away, you'll miss it. But yes, there's the contusion.
The contusion.
Yep.
But the barrel roll, being
Oh
banned by
boy.
Mitch.
Uh, the Bam by Mitch, which doesn't seem to have a line, mind you. Bart wants to go on the barrel, and he sticks lollipops under his feet to
Huh?
get up to the height requirement, which is also Surly, by the way. Surly is the one, it's a cutout of
Yes.
Surly, and he has his hand up, you must be this tall. And Mitch clears him to ride, even though he sort of cheated to do it. And Bart sits down in the barrel roll vehicle, which is shaped like a barrel, or it's made out of barrel staves. And he sits down in it, and the lap bar goes down, but it goes down over him because he is either too small or sitting in the wrong spot. So now he's completely uncontained.
Okay, I want to
By
pause you right there.
yes,
So this is a very big sticking point. One of the most annoying things I see on social media is parents who gladly figure out how to beat the height requirement checks at attractions.
Gee, I can't imagine why this bothers you.
They are there for a reason, people.
To
If you,
stop you from having fun.
to ruin your vacation. You drove
Exactly.
all the way from Utah.
I spend
No, but it's like,
$150 for you to tell me my kid can't ride? Come on.
yeah, it's like if a theme park could have everybody ride, they would, because it helps out on so many different levels. It's there for a reason. I've seen people. I'm not even gonna repeat them, but yeah, just don't don't
Like
don't
they're
add handle pads to the bottom of your kid's shoes. Don't stuff
um
them.
the best possible so here's the thing. So I when my youngest was 5, so he's now just turned 11, but when he was 5, we went to Disneyland, and we thought he would be able to make the height requirement for Indiana Jones.
Mhm.
But he didn't. He was just under. And you may know this because you I think you worked at the park, right?
I
Actually, in
work in you.
operations. Yeah, yeah. Okay,
Yep.
right. So they had a little card that they gave him that said like, "Hey, you weren't tall enough to ride today, but bring this card back when you are tall enough, and you get to like essentially get a fast pass. We'll just let you right in." Um, and he was like, "Oh, okay. All right, fine. No problem." Like, it totally, like, I was worried this was gonna be like a meltdown or something, but he was like, "Cool." And we held on to that card, and then the pandemic hit, so we didn't, like, go back for 5 years, but we held on to that card for 5 years and then took it back and, like, got to ride it. He thought it was awesome, and, like, they took a little picture commemorating the fact that he was now tall enough, and the cast member autographed the card. It
Amazing.
was the sweetest thing in the world. And I was like, and all that cost was a little piece of paper.
Yep.
And I honestly, I actually bring this up all the time in charrettes as the sort of the as good operations practice. Like, this costs almost nothing and has bought a ton of goodwill. Right? I think there's some real guest management acumen there.
Mitch did not have any of those cards.
No, no, no. Mitch was like, "Yeah, go for it, whatever."
Yeah, go for it. So okay, so
Um,
continue on with the barrel roll experience.
Yes. So Bart is literally basically flying out of the car, and he's shouting for them to stop the ride. He's the only one on it, by the way. Which is the only time this has ever happened to me. I was in Abu Dhabi at Ferrari World, and it was me and maybe 20 other people in the park. And
Wow.
so I would just walk through. I mean, it was like in the middle of the week or something, and I would walk through like the front of the line, and there'd be no attendant there, and I would just sort of wait and look around, and then so attendant would be like, "Oh, somebody's here. Hold on, let me turn on the ride," and they would turn on the ride, and then you like get on and go do it, and then you come back out, and they turn the ride back off again.
Wow. Whole power up sequence just for you.
Yeah, exactly. So, but Bart is yelling to stop the ride, and Mitch is like,
But
"No,
this
well,
ride
I'll
is
have to go
holding
check
on.
my supervisor." Right?
Yeah.
And his supervisor is another pimply faced teen named Kevin. I forget. It may have been Kevin.
No, it's not Kevin. It's something else, but it's not Kevin. I would have noticed that.
Yeah, okay. Why? I don't understand why.
I don't know.
Um, and he's like, "Well, I guess you can do it." And they stop the ride, and the ride somehow stops upside down in the middle of a loop.
So they designed a loop
Which
with a brake zone.
You know, it turns out it's actually a powered vehicle, and it has
Oh,
yeah, exactly. So it's not actually gravity powered. It's more like one of the spike coasters that Mauro makes. So it's individually
oh,
powered bus bar vehicles. Yeah,
that makes more sense. I
yeah,
was
of
wondering, like,
course, obviously.
why would you even design that into the system? When is this going to come in handy? Like,
Well,
oh, gotta stop.
yeah, yeah. This is another point where I took my glasses gently to the bridge of my glasses, and I pushed them up, and I explained to the television why this would not happen.
And the
It
TV
did
did
not
not
listen.
listen.
Did not listen.
So that's going to do it for our first part of our trip to Duff Gardens with Stefan. Thank you all for joining us this week. We'll be back with part 2 of this really, really fun look at one of the most iconic parks in the Simpsons lore in just a couple weeks. Until then, everyone, Happy New Year. Again, thanks for joining us on Unreal Attractions, and have a magical day.